I stopped drinking and I still felt miserable. And I want to explain why. I was sober, but not okay until I learned this one truth. Sobriety is 10% not drinking alcohol and 90% emotional sobriety. And I want to tell you what happened to me. So I got sober, I stopped drinking, and very gradually my life began to get better, right? It will get better if you stop drinking. You won't be hungover, you won't be tired, you'll be able to do the things that you kept promising that you'd do. You'll be a better employee, all of that kind of stuff. My anxiety began to decrease and my life began to open up. Now, those first couple of years of sobriety, it's really like moving to a brand new country, right? There's so much you're figuring out. Like everything was so new. Like I didn't know how to socialize. I didn't know how to do weekends. I didn't know how to do family events. There was just so much that was new that you're constantly learning. And over time, living in the land of sober becomes your new normal and you find your feet. And it just gets easier and easier and easier. And because when you're sober, your life is going to start opening up. One of the ways it opened up for me is instead of just like having jobs, I was able to start a career, and I was starting a career as a psychotherapist. I was about 3 years sober when I hit an emotional rock bottom. I didn't want to drink, but I didn't know how I was going to live the rest of my life feeling the way that I was feeling. And I was about 30 years old. And for me, this all showed up in romantic relationships. My romantic relationship history was a car crash. I had the same pattern. I had the same cycle. I always ended up abandoned with feelings of acute loneliness and despair. And I thought that this would just stop when I stopped drinking. I just thought stopping drinking, I was sort of working a program of a fashion. I was doing bits of this and bits of that, reading lots, reading about codependency and attachment and learning all this stuff. And I really thought it would just go away. I just thought I would be somebody who could have a grown-up relationship, but I still really struggled. And I didn't understand why. And it really scared me because, like I said, I didn't want to drink, but I didn't know how to navigate this for the rest of my life. And what I began to understand was that it was because I wasn't emotionally sober. So many great things had happened to me. You know, I checked a lot of boxes. I was able to have a car. I had somewhere to live. But the lack of chaos that you don't realize when you're drinking, how much chaos, unnecessary chaos you create in your life. All of that began to go away. These core kind of emotional feelings that I'd always struggled with, they'd always been there, this fear of abandonment, this loneliness, this feeling of separation from everybody, that didn't get resolved. And really, at 3 years sober, I got given the gift of desperation. Because like I said, I didn't want to drink. I didn't want to go back. I knew that wasn't the answer. I didn't want to go back to that life. I wanted the life that I believed could be possible. I wanted the life where I was sober and I was happy and I was content and I had a partner and a family and friends and my life was full and interesting and fun. And I know that everybody's human life has challenges and life stuff, right? I'm not, we can't be naive to that. We're all going to experience challenges. I knew that that was part of it. But I just didn't want this like desperate feeling of loneliness and desperation and abandonment. Like I couldn't live with that. So this gift of desperation was what I needed because it was very, very motivating. And I did the work of emotional sobriety. Now, emotional sobriety, it's really an emotional state. It's a state of feeling. It's feeling, I want to describe it to you. It's feeling very anchored. It's feeling that you can have mastery over your emotions. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to feel the full spectrum of human emotions. You're going to feel fear and sadness and disappointment and all of those kind of things. Those are normal human experiences, but we don't want any of those difficult feelings to own us, and we don't want to stay stuck in them, because that's what I used to do. I didn't know, like I kind of lived in those negative feelings, and I would interpret events around me negatively. Everything always added up to these very limiting beliefs I had about myself, that I wasn't good enough. Because I wasn't good enough, I wasn't going to be loved. And because I believed these things, I felt this way. It's how I saw the world. So that's what we want to get free of. So in order to do that, we need an emotional sobriety practice. We need, it's really just like exercise, right? You are going to have to exercise for the rest of your life to feel fit and well and healthy. You are going to have to do exercises to maintain your mental and emotional health, right? I think the biggest misunderstanding people have about this work, about getting sober, is that they go to someone like me, or they go somewhere, they get fixed, and then they're good, off they go. And it's not, like, you have to kind of reframe this. Like, I want to do the work of emotional sobriety because it brings me good stuff, right? I want to do the structured journaling that I teach in my programs. I want to do the self-reflection work that I teach in my programs because it's a gift. It expands my world. It makes things better. And what it creates, and this is the most important bit, by the way, before I tell you that, if you want to work with me, there are ways to do that in the links below in the description. What it creates is a shift in perception. And emotional sobriety, what it's going to create is an emotional rearrangement that then facilitates a shift in perception. And what that means is the world isn't going to change. You are. How you see everything, how you interpret events is what's going to change. And that's fundamental. So I had all this trouble with romantic relationships, and I would interpret what was said to me and behavior by other people. It would always funnel into this really boring, really familiar story that I had. If someone canceled plans or whatever, I got rejected or whatever, I made that always mean, well, it's because Veronica's not good enough. When I did this work, after 6 months, that feeling began to shift, and I just didn't feel that way anymore. I just didn't believe those things about myself anymore. I just began to see the world differently. Here's the gift. What I began to understand is that nothing is personal. The way other people behave, what they do, what they say, it's just not personal. And so I stopped interpreting it personally. So I never kind of went on that, stupid kind of down that street of like, oh God, I'm not good enough. I'm not going to be loved, or I'm rejected. Like, those things just stopped happening because I saw the world differently. And that is why I bang on so much about emotional sobriety, because I cannot express to you how life-changing that is. See, this isn't about not drinking alcohol. That's the doorway, right? You need to stop drinking. If you're watching this and you've watched it this far, I know you need to stop drinking, right? You have to start there. That is the door that you need to walk through. But you don't realize that walking through that door, you enter a world that I just didn't know this existed. The personal development, the development of oneself, the richness of that, how it impacted and affected every single area of my life. It's extraordinary to me. So if you've stopped drinking, but you feel miserable, you feel lost, you feel alone, you feel disconnected from yourself and other people, this is probably the reason. And that's why I have all the links below of the different ways to work with me, because I have been teaching people how to be emotionally sober for 20 years. If you're sober and struggling, it's not your fault. It means you've outgrown just not drinking alcohol, and you're ready for the next stage. You're just ready for that. That life is calling you to the next stage to do the work of emotional sobriety. Don't forget to hit subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you think.